Thank you very much. So, I read this piece in the New York Times Magazine about the sport of memory and how to become a memory champion. Explained how you have to have a memory palace in which you put your memories so you can visit and walk around and find out what you've stored there. So I thought, what a great prompt for the writing group. So we all chanted and held hands, and no, we didn't really. Burst into song, no, we didn't really. And each of us, in our own way, sort of visited our beautiful memory palaces, but my memory palace was this rundown shack on the poor side of a poor town with all this junk in the front yard and a dead chicken, a rusted lawnmower, and all this crap from a dollar store that had gone out of business across the street. So at first I wasn't sure if I should go in. So I just parked my blonde Studebaker outside. I listened to Journey sing Don't Stop Believing on 8-track and smoked Marlboro Red cigarettes and thought about this girl from Staten Island I kissed in 8th grade after a teen center dance in Hollywood, Florida, where the Royal Guardsmen of Snoopy and the Red Dragon fame, for real, played, with whom I had danced my version of the Frou. And I thought with admiration about the smooth move I made standing outside the teen center with cars full of parents picking up the kids, and I took her purse out of her hands and balanced it carefully on the mailbox next to us so we could kiss, and how suave that was. So the whole memory palace thing, I'm not sure how well it was working, but I kept coming back and parking outside the memory palace and smoking cigarettes and listening to Journey on the 8-track and thinking about that girl from Staten Island named Linda Minardi, which are the same initials as Liza Minnelli, which is kind of creepy now that I think about it, but she lived at, inside joke, she lived on Jewett Avenue, I still remember that, and she sent me perfumed letters every week for the rest of the summer until her father, who was a fireman, read some of the racy language I, a budding poet, had included in the letter. And then she wrote back an unscented letter, breaking up with me and telling me that since her dad read some of the racy language in my letters, now she couldn't ever vacation in Florida again, and she was grounded, and it was my fault, and she had a friend, Vinny, who was going to beat my ass if I ever came to Staten Island, which, don't tell anybody, and no offense, but which was highly unlikely. So I just kept parking outside the memory shack, waiting for something to happen, but nothing ever did. I just sit there smoking cigarettes, thinking about junior high school makeout sessions in the grass outside the Catholic school, and Billy Ramel saying, "Smell my finger," and me not knowing what the significance of smelling his finger was, and plus then smelling his finger and not really being able to smell anything on his finger. But I'd sit there parked outside my memory palace, too disgusted to go inside. Half-burnt mattress still smoldering in the crabgrass on the front yard, and then a rusty out tricycle and a broken baseball bat, and then the last straw was a vendor in a straw boater showed up, opened a vending booth. Patriotic bunting hung all around the thatched roof. He was selling used, semi-cliched symbols of broken childhood memories. It was too much. I'm like, I'm going in. So I climb out of the car, walk up the sidewalk, and go up the porch steps and push open the screen door of the memory palace. And there's the king, sleeping under a table laden with apples, munching a baby Ruth in his sleep. And I'm wondering how he does that. He's wearing a really campy red gown, velour with white trim and the crown. Had rubies and sapphires and emeralds in it. So I says, "What up, king? Apple dude." And he just stares at me. And then I keeps going up the steps, and this doesn't make any sense at all, and I must have a lot of nerve or no common sense to be reading, or why did I write that? Or I must not really care about maintaining my reputation as at least nominally competent writer of coherent narrative. I can't believe I wrote that. But up the stairs I go into this room, where I find the golden sister with her hair cascading down her back, and she's got an envelope full of seeds, and she's got a lute, and she's got a belt, and on the belt are the bullets she would use to get the king. She hates the king. I'm like, "Why do you hate the king? He's all right." She's like all sullen and silent as always. So I'm like, fuck this with the golden sister, fuck this. And I'm up the stairs, and up the stairs I go, and I find my mom at the sewing machine, all sewing up our jeans from when we've been sliding down the roof and tearing them up, and my mom is all like, "Why can't you get along?" And I'm all, "My sister's going to put a cap in the king's ass if he's still under that table eating apples." And mom is like, "That's okay, she can't hurt him. He's the king." So then we go up a little farther, and here's this recording session going on with Miles fucking Davis, only his back is turned, and when he turns around, blowing fierce and low and peppery hot staccato, blasting like gravel on a windshield, and then like birds fleeing hunters, and then like the low growl of a hound watching the sheriff's boots in a cool dirt crawl space under a shotgun shack. And Miles, he turns around, and his face is all like the ugliest thing you ever saw, and I'm like, "Miles, you was a handsome man. You must have turned ugly in your descent from stardom. You must have got ugly and you were hoarding fame. You got to give it away like Ali, man. And he's all like, fuck you, white nigger boy. And I'm like, Mom, Miles Davis cussed at me. He said a bad word. Mom, so I just keep going up the steps because I've been working out. And there is Jimmy Carter. He's been listening to Miles Davis. And Miles Davis doesn't know it because he wouldn't let him listen to him if he knew. He had this rule that Jimmy Carter was not allowed to listen to any of Miles Davis' music. Jimmy Carter's up there listening on headphones. I launch right into him like, man, you let us down. You let all that bad stuff happen. Reagan kicked your ass, and it's all your fault. You trippy-ass peanut farmer, you crazy-ass Georgia cracker. You should have seen this shit coming, but you were too Navy-ass. You were too nice. You cleaned your clock. Then I'm like, what is that term, cleaned your clock, all about? What does that mean? I'm going to have to look that up. Where does that go in the memory palace? Is there a room for weird terms like clean your clock and gird your loins and shiver me timbers? Like the Popeye room. I wish the memory palace was full of exotic objects I could pick up and imagine, keys to my actual childhood, or symbols of a deeper collective consciousness. At least something cool like trophies of exotic birds. Sports Illustrated, the entire collection since issue #1, a trunk full of circus clothes and some Roman coins and the combination in my junior high school locker, which I forgot one time and couldn't get my gym clothes and suffered. Crying, red-faced humiliation, ran into the office all upset. Man, that was the end of my junior high school happiness, after which I started drinking and using dope and never forgave the Schlage Lock Company for letting me forget the combination. Because I thought when I heard about the memory palace that it would be like a real palace. It was more like a shack where they put everybody who has really low self-esteem and works at 7-Eleven. It was kind of a dump, and the best thing about it was Miles Davis. But then as I was coming down the stairs, he came at me again, cussing, telling me to get the fuck out of his studio until I could work on my embouchure. Because I had the limp, useless lips of a trombone player. He says to me, and I'm like, Linda Minardi did not think so. You should talk to her. And he's all like, she's not sending you no more perfume letters. I'm all up on that disaster, you little puke. I'm like, Mom, Miles Davis is cussing at me again. She's all like, can't you learn how to sew? I have to sew with all your jeans. I'm going down the stairs at basketball practice. I'll see you later. And then the door of the king is still under the table eating apples. And I just go back out to my Studebaker, get in the driver's seat and put on the 8-track of Journey singing Don't Stop Believing Again. And try to get my wits about me, because this whole memory palace thing may work for some people. My memory palace more like a memory 7-Eleven or a memory rehab with yellow police do not cross tape around. So, lest you have to go through what I had to go through, worst of which was, believe me, getting cussed out by Miles Davis. Because he really, despite the horn playing, he really, to me anyway, did not seem to be a very nice man. Just be careful about this memory palace business. Maybe the best thing to do is not look in your own memory palace, but borrow somebody else's. Somebody with a memory palace you'd actually like to visit. And that's my advice.